Wit sharpened and at the ready? Then, without further ado, let us begin. Just knock on the door to start things off. What a delightful surprise to have the... When you want to get things going, press... As soon as you're ready, merely choose 3 activities and then press play, old thing. Yes, by all means have a look round first. When you're ready to make your entree, as it were, give the door a little tap. Hello, do come in, won't you? I'm Aluminum, head chef in charge of important matters. You see, matter is the stuff that everything is made of, and I must say that a kitchen is an excellent place for observing matter. But why stop at milkshaking, tea-making and biscuit baking when there are so many truly fascinating experiments to try? A sprinkling of stuff dissolved here, a dash of something evaporated there, mixed, heated and vaporized into a pièce de résistance. But I digress. Now then, first things first, I've taken the liberty of making you this book. And here we have the face-picking part. Dear me, I don't like the sound of that at all. Anyway, if you wish, you may select a picture with which to adorn your book. And when you're ready to play, press Start a Game. And here is our extensive menu of delightful activities. You can find out more about each one by pointing to them. Choose whichever 3 intrigue you most, and to start things, cooking, press Play. If you'd like me to make your selection, click here. If you'd rather explore the book, choose one of the chapters here. Finally, if things get dire, press the Help button. Aha! Forthwith, your recipe for success, as it were. Do have a look at it, won't you, old thing? It contains some important facts that you may find useful. In the meantime, I shall begin preparations for our little experiment. All righty? Why are the apples in stores all the same size? When farmers have picked their apples, they put them through a special sorting machine. First, the apples go into a sieve that traps the apples that are too big to sell. The rest of the apples fall through the holes in the sieve. They pass into a second sieve with smaller holes than the first. Apples that are too small to sell fall through these smaller holes. The apples that are left are just the right size to send to stores. Why are the apples in stores all the same size? I've put together some safe ingredients for this experiment. But remember, if you don't recognize a powder or a liquid, don't touch it, play with it, or eat it. Try separating these mixtures using sieves with holes of different sizes. Now then, click around until you understand how the activity works. Should you find yourself jumping to confusions, press the Hint button for a clue. If you wish to look at the book, click on it. And when you've finished trying things out, press OK. All clear? And now for some questions. First of all, what happens when you pour the peas and water through the top sieve? That was very nearly right. In fact, only the water passes through the sieve. The peas are too large. Take another look. Now, what happens when you pour the jelly beans and pebbles into the bottom sieve? Yes, the pebbles are too big to pass through the holes in the bottom sieve. Here's a puzzle. Why can't you separate the Brussels sprouts and pebbles using the top sieve or the bottom sieve? Here's a puzzle. Why can't you separate the Brussels sprouts and pebbles using the top sieve or the bottom sieve? Good show. OK, so if there was a mixture of pebbles and sand, what should you use to separate them? almost right. You see, the pebbles are bigger than the holes in the bottom sieve, and sand grains are smaller than the holes in the top sieve, so both the top and the bottom sieves will separate sand and pebbles. So, which one of these three mixtures could you separate using the top sieve? I understand your hesitation, but the thing is, a choice must be made sooner or later. Preferably sooner. Not quite, I'm afraid. You see, the top sieve separates things that are smaller than its holes from things that are larger than its holes. So the mixture you want is jelly beans and salt. Feast your eyes on this glorious sight. It's your page, a light with two twinkling stars. A moment, I pray you. I have only to put the last detail in place. Aha! Shall we commence? Then press play. See if you can work out which of these things could be dangerous. Now then, when you see the parts come past, wit sharpened and at the ready. What a delightful When you want to get things going, pick 3 activities and then I shall make all due preparations while you feast your gaze on this. When you wish to tuck in, press play. See if you can work out which of these things could be dangerous. A plastic duck. A plastic duck. Sugar. Electricity. Medicines. A liquid. A powder. A stove. Matches. Fire. Cleaning products. Medicines. A liquid. Water. That That was nothing short of ambrosial. And now for some dangerous questions. First of all, how could cleaning fluid be dangerous to you? That's right. If you spill it on your skin, it can burn you. And it can be poisonous too. So if you're not sure that something is safe, don't touch it or drink it. Now, why are matches dangerous? That's right. Matches can start fires and fire can burn you and destroy buildings. It's not, cool to play with matches, okay? If medicines make you better, how can they be dangerous? That's right. Different medicines are used to treat different illnesses, and taking the wrong medicine is very dangerous. You should only take medicine if your parents or your doctor give it to you. Why is electricity dangerous? That's right. If elect Why shouldn't you touch or drink the clear liquid? That's right. If you don't know what a liquid is, just don't touch it or drink it. I say, you're a veritable fireball, aren't you? And 5 stars is nothing short of meteoric. You read the recipe while I assemble the ingredients. Press play to start cooking. Why are sunglasses dark? Sunglasses are semi-transparent. This means that they let through only some light, so that you don't strain your eyes on a bright sunny day. Some materials only let some colours of light through. A stained glass window is semi-transparent in this way. Now that's really what I call a work of art. Watch carefully what happens when you put these things in front of this picture of me. A glass of water. A magnifying glass. A blue filter. A green filter. A red filter. Tracing paper. A brick wall. A glass window with curtains. A leaf. And now it's time to turn the heat up with some questions. First one, how clearly can you see the picture of me through the glass of the window? That's right. Okay, now why can't you see through the brick wall? Superb! Bricks are opaque, which means that you can't see through them. Here's a brain teaser. Can you see through a sheet of tracing paper? Oh yes, tracing paper is translucent, which means that light can pass through it, but you can't see things very clearly. Now, how well can you see through the green filter? Absolutely. You see, the green glass of the filter lets you see through it, but it makes everything seem darker and green. Now, what colour do red things seem when you look at them through the blue filter? Well, not exactly. When you look at them through the blue filter, red things appear very dark, almost black. Just look at that page. It's absolutely luminescent with stars. Press play when you wish to begin, but first examine this. Why are the apples in stores all the same size? I say, what's going on here? Fleabag, you old rotter. I think you've gone a shade too far this time. Yes, well, he's rather likely to take advantage of the situation and begin throwing words at you. If you seize the ones that match the description you see below, we may satisfy his boorish sense of fun and we can get on with things. Anyway, do have a whack at it, won't you? Opaque, transparent, germ, wood. There now. When the rat's away, the wise will play. Shall we? I've put together some safe ingredients for this experiment. But remember, if you don't recognize a powder or a liquid, don't touch it, play with it, or eat it. Try separating these mixtures. And now for some questions. First of all, what happens when you pour the peas and water through the top sieve? Superb! The peas are larger than the holes in the sieve and so cannot pass through. Now, what happens when you pour the jelly beans and pebbles into the bottom sieve? Yes, the pebbles are too big to pass through the holes in the bottom sieve. Here's a puzzle. Why can't you separate the Brussels sprouts and pebbles using the top sieve or the bottom sieve? Most assuredly. OK, so if there was a mixture of pebbles and sand, what should you use to separate them? Oh, absolutely. The pebbles are bigger than the holes in the bottom sieve, and sand grains are smaller than the holes in the top sieve, so both the top and the bottom sieves will separate sand and pebbles. So, which one of these three mixtures could you separate using the top sieve? Well done! The jelly beans are too large to pass through the top sieve, but grains of salt can. 5 stars! To paraphrase Shakespeare, it is a constellation devoutly to be wished. Fleabag, your time of reckoning is at hand. And now let us examine your stars. Now then, you must grab Fleabag as many times as you can before the time runs out. But remember, only go for him when he has a question card. Otherwise you'll lose some of your valuable stars. Ready? Let us commence. The Salutations. Here is a place in which you can eat. Press start a game when you want to. Merely choose 3 activities and then press play. Now, I shall pave the way while you cast your eyes on this. Press play when you wish to begin. In this experiment, we use a super oven to heat things, but remember, stoves get very hot and can burn you. Never play with them and always be very careful near them. Ooh, I love baking, and sometimes when you heat things, dramatic changes can happen. See what happens when you put these things into my super oven. Now it's time to grill you. First question, which of the materials melt in the super oven? Ice, gelatin, ice, top notch. Now, what happens to water if you heat it? Water in bowl. Water in bowl. Absolutely. If you heat liquid water up to a certain temperature, 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit, it boils and turns into a gas called steam. So, if you left ice in the super oven for much longer, what might happen? You're a virtuoso. What happens to iron in the super oven? An iron bar. That's right. It gets so hot that it glows red. But it would melt if the super oven were much hotter. Okay, what happens to the egg and the paper when you heat them up? A raw egg. A piece of paper. That's right. Things don't always melt or boil when you heat them. Some things get cooked and some things burn. You've been awarded 5 glittering stars. Do you know, I rather envy you. Well done. Here is your appetizer. Press play when you're ready, and I shall bring in the first course. Fleabag, insufferable rodent. Metal, paper, steel, plastic, heat. Well, I should think that's taught him. Now back to the subject at hand. Drop each of these objects into water and syrup and see if they float. And now let's sink our teeth into some questions. First of all, which of these things float in water? Exactly so. Now, the wooden ball and the steel ball are the same size, but only the wooden ball floats in water. Why is this? Rather. Right then. Why do you think that some of these things float in syrup, but not in water? That's right. Heavy liquids, like syrup, are better at holding things up than light liquids, like water. Now, what can you tell me about the modelling clay? That's correct. If you make it hollow, it floats. Now, here's a tricky one. If the steel ball sinks in water, why do ships made of steel float? Oh, you are clever. Steel ships are made of a shell of steel, but are hollow inside, so they're mostly full of air. That's why they float. Let us view your page. 5 stars! You are a master chef, and this is your pièce de résistance. You read the recipe while I assemble the ingredients. Press play to start cooking. Do you know what things are made of? See if you can sort these things out. A kitchen knife. A door. Sticks of chalk. A map. Drumsticks. A chopping board. A stone sculpture. Sticks of chalk. A spring. A copper pipe. A stone path. Fleabag, you are a verminous pest and a slovenly dresser. Do let me assist you, old bean. There we are. A book. An envelope. A stone path. And now for some appetizing questionettes. First one, why are the book, the map and the envelope all made from paper? That's right. Imagine what books, maps and envelopes would be like if paper were expensive, heavy and too stiff to fold or bend. And where does paper come from? Perfect! Paper is usually made from wood, which is chopped up, mashed up and then pressed into flat sheets. Now, why is wood used to make doors? That's right. It's easy to cut wood into lots of different shapes, and it's strong enough that you can make doors out of it, chop things on it, and hit drums with it. Okay, why do you suppose that coins are usually made of metal? Correct! Metal coins are durable, so they can be used for many years. Last one. Where do we get metals from? That's right. Metals are found inside underground rocks called ores. You've been awarded 5 glittering stars. Do you know, I rather envy you. Well done. Do you suppose Fleabag is ready for an etiquette lesson? I must concur. Let's see what you've amassed in the way of stars. 1, 2, 3, go! What a fascinating... When you want to get things going, press start. Pick 3 activities and then... Now, put these things into the supercooler to see what happens when they're at lower temperatures. Oil. A fried egg. A plastic bottle of water. A glass bottle of water. A glass bottle of water. gelatin mix. A stick in orange juice. Okay, time for some cool questions. First one, what does liquid water become if you cool it to a very low temperature? That's right. If you cool water down to its freezing point, which is 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it freezes and becomes ice. Why does a plastic bottle filled with water bulge after it has been in the cooler? Yes, and that's the reason that the glass bottle breaks too. Why do people put gelatin mix in the refrigerator? Exquisite! You make a fried egg by heating the egg. What happens when you cool a fried egg? That's right. Cooling a fried egg won't unfry it. Now, what happens to the air in the bottle when you cool it? That's right. When air becomes colder, it takes up a smaller space. This makes the bottle collapse. Let us view your page. 5 stars! You are a master chef, and this is your pièce de résistance. Here is your appetizer. Press play when you're ready, and I've put together some safe ingredients for this experiment. But remember, if you don't recognize a powder or a liquid, don't touch it, play with it, or eat it. See what happens when you add each of these things to water, then pour the mixture through a piece of filter paper. OK, it's time for a few questions. First one, what happens when you pass a mixture of chalk powder and water through the filter? Ooh, bad luck. In fact, the filter traps the grains of chalk powder, but cannot stop water passing through. Take another look. OK, how does filter paper trap chalk powder? Absolutely right. Filter paper contains millions of tiny holes that let water through, but trap powder. What happens to sugar and salt when you mix them with water before you pour them into the filter? That's right. Both sugar and salt dissolve in the water. So, which of these three sentences about a filter is true? That's right. If something dissolves in water, you can't separate it from the water using a filter. Now here's a tricky one. When you pour coffee through the filter traps the ground, but the liquid that comes out is dark. Why? That's right. The things that dissolve give coffee its taste and smell. 4 stars spotlighting your genius. Impressed? You bet your jam roly-poly I am. I see you anticipate the next one with great appetite. As do I. Just a moment, though, while I finish here. Press play to proceed. Can't say a thing. Fleabag's feeling either romantic or mischievous. Which do you think it is? Ice. Chemical reaction. Glass. Elect. Flame. There now. When the rat's away, the wise will play. Shall we? Things change, but can everything change back to how it was? Sort these objects into those that you can change back and those that you can't. Melted chocolate. Melted chocolate. A rusty nail. A rusty nail. Melted ice. A broken window. A fried egg. Frozen water. Melted ice. Melted wax. Burned wood. Nasty piece of work, that flea bag. And a crashing bore. You are not to worry, as I can remedy this in seconds. And now for some questions. First one, how can you make solid ice from ice that has melted? That's right. Melting ice is what we call a reversible change. You can undo it by freezing the water. The heat of a candle flame melts the candle wax. How can you make the wax solid again? That's right, although you won't get as much wax as you started with. You see, some of the wax melts, but some of it is burned away by the flame. How can you make wood again out of the ash of burned wood? That's right. If you burn something, it changes permanently. You can't unburn things. How can you change dough permanently? Perfect! When you heat dough, you make bread, but you can't uncook the bread to make dough. Ready for a tricky one? Which of these sentences is true? Congratulations! Cooking, breaking and rusting are all permanent changes. You can't undo them. I say, you're a veritable fireball, aren't you? And 5 stars is nothing short of meteoric. Funny old chap, that Fleabag. Apparently he wants to play catch-a-rat. I say, are you up to it, old thing? Ready for a look at your stars? Ready? Let's go! Aha! There! Press start a game when you want to begin. Merely choose 3 activities. Play, indeed. I will endeavour to arrange things while you begin the brainwork. Do you know what things are made of? Decide which material was used to make each of these things. A T-shirt. A baseball cap. A backpack. A rubber band. A ruler. A bottle. A comb. A balloon. A tire. A window pane. A bottle. A bottle. Be off with you, Fleabag, before I find my recipe for rat stew. Don't think I won't do it. Now then, I shall rectify this immediately. A lens. A balloon. Ready for some questions? Okay, first one. Which materials are most bottles made out of? Oh, capital. Now then, why are balloons made out of rubber? That's it. Rubber is stretchy, and it needs to be because the balloon grows in size when you inflate it. So, how might you describe the glass in a window? That's right, and a good word for see-through is transparent. How do you think most fabrics are made? Absolutely. Most fabrics are made from threads of cotton, wool, or other materials that are woven or knitted together. Last question. What can you say about a plastic ruler, a plastic pen, and a plastic bag? Perfect! There are many different types of plastic. Some of them are stiff, and some of them are bendy. 5 stars! To paraphrase Shakespeare, it is a constellation devoutly to be wished. A moment, I pray you. In this experiment, we use a hot plate to heat things. But remember, heat can be very dangerous. Never play with stoves, matches, or fire. If you need to heat something up, ask an adult for help. Yes, yes. All right, Fleabag. Melting. Filter. Reversible. Solid. Excellent. That seems to have done the trick. Shall we proceed? In this experiment, we use a hot plate to heat things. But remember, heat can be very dangerous. Never play with stoves, matches, or fire. If you need to heat something up, ask an adult for help. See what happens when you leave these mixtures in the open air and on a warm hot plate. Okay, let's try some questions. Here's the first one. If you boil salty water for a long time, what is left in the bottom of the bowl? Quite so. What happens when you heat all of these mixtures? Perfectly done. That's right. In other words, the water evaporates. So where does the water go when it evaporates? Oh, absolutely. Water evaporates by breaking up into tiny molecules which mix with the air. Now then, what happens when you leave a bowl of water uncovered for a long time? That's right. The water still evaporates, but much more slowly than if it was boiling. Now, what would happen if you filled a bottle with salty water and put the top on? That's right. For water to evaporate, it needs to be able to get into the open air. 5 stars! To paraphrase Shakespeare, it is a constellation devoutly to be wished. Okay, forbear while I make certain preparations, and when you wish to proceed, press play. In this experiment, we use a knife to test different materials. But remember, knives can be very dangerous. Never play with knives, and always ask an adult for help if you need to cut something. Some materials are a lot softer than others. You can test this here by dropping a knife onto lots of different materials. Okay, now it's time to test you. First question, which of these materials is the softest? Absolutely. Plastic foam is so soft you can squish it with your bare hands. So complete this sentence. The softer a material is... That's right. This is just like the way that scientists test materials in real life. So, which material is harder than copper? Oh, well done! Are all woods as hard as each other? That's right. This experiment shows that balsa wood and mahogany have different hardnesses. There are many other types of wood, all with different hardnesses. Which of these metals would make a better suit of armour? That's right. You need a hard metal to make armour, and steel is harder than copper. I say, you're a veritable fireball, aren't you? And 5 stars is nothing short of meteoric. Fleabag, your time of reckoning is at hand. Come, come, don't be bashful. It's time to look at your stars. Ready? Steady? Spaghetti! I mean, go! These printouts are your reward for all your hard work. What a delightful surprise to have the benefit. When you want to get things going, merely choose 3 activities and then press. Voila! This is for your personal. Look carefully at these things and see if you can name the 2 different materials that each one is made of. Wood, wood, wood. Glass, fabric. Metal, metal. Wood, metal, metal. Ah, excellent. Most adroitly accomplished. Ready for some questions? OK, here's the first. Why is the door made from wood and glass? Corking. Beyond that, it was bipping and spiffing. OK, so why are wood and fabric used to make the chair? Wonderful! The wood is stiff or rigid, which gives the chair its solid shape, and the fabric is bendy or flexible, which makes the chair comfortable and easy to fold up. Now, why is the axe not made only of wood? That's right. A metal blade is much stronger and sharper than a wooden one. You wouldn't be able to chop down many trees with a wooden axe. OK, what material other than wood would make a good handle for the axe? Oh yes, the axe would be fine with a plastic handle because hard plastic is strong and doesn't shatter. Last one. What does the metal part of the clothespin do? That's right, the metal spring makes the pin grip the clothesline. Let us view your page. 5 stars! You are a master chef and this is your piece. You read the recipe. See how strong these beams made of different materials are by putting weights on them. Wood, Steel. Plastic. Cardboard. Carbon fibre. Rubber. Rubber. Ready? Here we go. Which of these three beams is the strongest? That's it. When you use the heaviest weight, the wooden bridge breaks, the rubber bridge bends to the floor, but the steel bridge only bends a little. What happens when you put 100 grams onto the wooden bridge? Jubilation! What happens when you put 100 kilograms onto the wooden bridge? An emphatic thumbs up. What would happen if you put 50 kilograms onto the wooden bridge? That's right. The wooden bridge can support 10 kilograms, but not 100 kilograms, so we can't tell if the bridge will snap with 50 kilograms on it. How could you make the wooden bridge stronger? Wow, how frightfully clever! You've been awarded 5 glittering stars. Do you know, I rather envy you. Well done. You read the recipe while I... Pitch blackness, flying words, it could only be... The attack of the mischievous rat. Carbon fibre. Solution. Gas. Hardness. Fabric. Well, Fleabag, you ought to know better at your age. Now then, where were we? Ah, yes. I've put together some safe ingredients for this experiment. But remember, if you don't recognise a powder or a liquid, don't touch it, play with it, or eat it. See what happens to each of these substances when you add it to water and then stir the mixture. And now, question time. First one, what happens when you add sand to water? Precisely. Now, what do you see when you add salt to water? Correct. Salt dissolves when you add it to water. So, where does the salt go after it disappears from view? That's right. When something dissolves in water, it breaks up into tiny particles. These particles are still in the water, but they are too small to see. When you add tea leaves to water, the water changes colour, but the tea leaves do not disappear. What has happened? That's right. When you add tea leaves to water, substances in the leaves dissolve into the water, colouring it. Why is it important that detergents dissolve in water? That's right. To get your clothes clean, the detergent needs to reach all the places that the water does. You've been awarded 5 glittering stars. Do you know, I rather envy you. Psst. Unbeknownst to our little rodent friend, I've arranged for a little diversion. Now for that moment of exquisite anticipation. Let us bring out all the stars. 1, 2, 3, go! Ah, now we shall reap the bountiful fruits of our labours. How very delightful! What a... As soon as you're ready, merely choose 3 activities and then press play, old thing. I shall make all... In this experiment, we use a hot plate to heat things. But remember, heat can be very dangerous. Never play with stoves, matches or fire. If you need to heat something up, ask an adult for help. Find the best way to separate each of these mixtures. You can choose between sieving, filtering or evaporating. Sand and pebbles. Sand and water. Salt and jelly beans. Salty water. Sand and water. Sand and water. Time for some questions. First one, which mixtures can you separate by filtering? I concur wholeheartedly. OK, so which mixtures can't you separate by evaporation? That's right. The only ones that you can't separate by evaporation are the ones that don't contain any water. Salt and jelly beans and sand and pebbles. Now, which mixtures can you separate with the sieve? Oh, bad luck. In fact, the two mixtures you can separate with a sieve are salt and jelly beans and sand and pebbles. Now, what would happen if you put a mixture of sand, salt and water through the filter? Correct. The salt would dissolve into the water and so would pass through the filter, unlike the sand. Last one. If you had a mixture of chalk, salt and water, how could you separate the salt from it? Oh, bad luck! In fact, you should filter the mixture, then evaporate it. The filter would trap the chalk, but let the water pass through with the salt dissolved in it. When you evaporated the salty water, you'd be left with salt crystals. Here's your page. My stars! Or should I say, your stars? 3 of them, to be precise. Here is your appetite. Dear, oh dear! You know what this means, don't you? Translucent, liquid, freezing, evaporation, material. Excellent! Choose a tip material and see if it will scratch one of the tiles below. Plastic tip. Wooden tip. Gold tip. Steel tip. Marble tip. Diamond tip. Diamond crusted tile. Diamond crusted diamond tip. Steel tip. Okay, it's time for a few questions. Now, which one of these tips scratches the steel tile? That's right. The diamond tip scratches the steel tile because diamond is harder than steel. Okay, so which one of these 3 tips does not scratch copper? Correct. Wood is softer than copper. Now then, which is the hardest material here? Bullseye! The diamond tip scratches all the other materials, and none of the other tips can scratch the diamond tile, so diamond must be the hardest material. And which is the softest material here? Perfect! The plastic tip doesn't scratch anything, and the other tips all scratch the plastic tile, so plastic must be the softest material. So, why are knives made of steel? Absolutely! 5 stars! To paraphrase Shakespeare, it is a constellation devoutly to be wished. I see you anticipate the next one with great appetite. As do I. In this experiment, we use a... See what happens when you dip the magnet into these different mixtures. Let's try some questions. First one, what happens when you drop the magnet into the mixture of iron filings and sugar? That's right, and so you can separate the mixture. Now, what does the magnet pick up when you drop it into the salty water? Afraid not. In fact, the magnet does not pick up anything. Okay, so what happens when you dip the string in salty water? Yes. Now, what things in a mixture does the magnet pick up? Absolutely. Last one. Can you separate the paper clips from a mixture of paper clips and iron filings? Afraid not. A magnet wouldn't work because it would pick up both the paper clips and the iron filings. You should use a sieve with holes smaller than the paper clips. Technically superb, artistically brilliant, and you've earned 3 stars as well. Psst, unbeknownst to our little rodent friend, let's indulge in a little stargazing now, shall we? Go! These printout... Ah, splendid, splendid. Do come in, won't you? Now then, shall we begin? When you want to get things going, press start a game. Select your 3 activities and then press play. I shall make all due preparations while you feast your gaze on this. When you find out what happens if you add many helpings of different substances to water. Now to saturate you with questions. First one, what happens to the 3rd helping of salt that you add to the water? It's full. That solution has become saturated, which means that no more salt will dissolve in it. By Jove, I think you've got it! How many helpings of salt can you dissolve in the water? Correct! 2 helpings of salt dissolve in water, but when you add a third helping, the water is filled up, and no more salt can dissolve. When no more can dissolve, we say the solution is saturated. Now, how much salt do you think you could dissolve in 2 bowls of water? Yes! If you have twice as much water, then you can dissolve twice as much salt in it. Could you continue forever making a cup of tea sweeter by adding sugar to it? That's right. Tea is mostly water, which can only dissolve a few spoonfuls of sugar before it becomes saturated. After that, you can't make it sweeter. Now, is there any way to dissolve more than 2 helpings of salt in a bowl of water? That's right. You can't tell from this experiment, but in fact you could dissolve more salt if the water was warmer. I say, you're a veritable fireball, aren't you? And 5 stars is nothing short of meteoric. A moment, please, while I perform the preliminary measures for the next one. Yes, yes. Magnet. Sieve. Electromagnet. Flex. I dare say that's the best thing that's ever happened to Fleabag in the long run. Now then, now that's really what I call a work of art. Watch carefully what happens when you put these things in front of this picture of me. And now whoops! A little slip-up. Never mind. In fact, you can see through the glass in the window very clearly. Try looking again. OK, now why can't you see through the brick wall? Superb! Bricks are opaque, which means that you can't see through them. Here's a brain teaser. Can you see through a sheet of tracing paper? Oh yes, tracing paper is translucent, which means that light can pass through it, but you can't see things very clearly. Now, how well can you see through the green filter? Absolutely. You see, the green glass of the filter lets you see through it, but it makes everything seem darker and green. Now, what colour do red things seem when you look at them through the blue filter? Yes, red things look very dark. Now, here is your page in all. Press play when you wish. Look carefully at all of these things. Name the 2 different materials that each one is made of. Wood, metal, plastic, 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 wood, metal, plastic, plastic, wood. metal, plastic, plastic. Fleabag, you really do try one's patience. There, there. A trifling inconvenience, but I shall whip it all back into shape. Plastic, plastic, metal. Time for some questions. First one, why is the toothbrush made from two different types of plastic? That's right. There are many different types of plastic, and a toothbrush uses two types. One that is rigid, which means stiff, and one that is flexible, which means bendy. Now, what would happen if the fishing float were made of solid metal and the hook were made of wood? Highly commendable. Why are electrical cables metal on the inside and plastic on the outside? That's right. Electricity passes along metal wires inside the cable, but cannot pass through the plastic, making it safer to hold. What would the iron feel like with a metal handle? That's right. Heat passes quickly through metal, so the handle would feel very hot. Okay, here's the last one. Which materials should you choose for making a crash helmet? Superb! The hard plastic doesn't break easily, and the soft foam cushions your head. Let us view your page. 5 stars! You are a master chef, and this is your pièce de résistance. I think it's time to enter the rat race. Ready for a look at your stars? Ready? Steady? Spaghetti! I mean, go! What ha- Hello, you delightful... When you want to get things going, select your 3 activities and then press play. Voila! This is for your... It takes lots of different materials to build a car. See if you can put these labels in the right places. Fabric, fabric. Plastic, plastic. Metal, rubber. Plastic, plastic. Metal, metal. Glass, rubber, rubber. Plastic. Fleabag, you really do try one's patience. There, there. A trifling inconvenience, but I shall whip it all back into shape. Fabric, metal, rubber, plastic. Time for some questions. First one, why isn't the body of a car made from paper? I'm afraid not. Paper wouldn't make a good car body because it's just not strong enough. It could also catch fire and it wouldn't last long in the rain. So the car body is made of metal. Which of these other important car parts is also made of metal? Not quite right, I'm afraid. The engine is another part made of metal. OK, now why would the headlights be of no use if they were made of metal? That's right. Headlights must be see-through so that the light from the lamp can pass through the front. Clear plastic is perfect for the job. Now why is rubber used to make the tyres? Tut tut, these are just too easy for you. OK, what sort of material should you use to make the safety belts in a car? That's right. Safety belts need to bend to pass around your body, but they must also be strong to keep you safe in a crash. Hello? What's this? Do you mean to say you've got 3 stars or... OK. For in this experiment, we use a hot plate. I've invented a wonderful contraption that can turn water into ice or steam and back again. Let's investigate. And now, the questions. My invention is in 4 separate units. What does the first unit do? Absolutely. It's an ice maker. When you cool water down to a certain temperature, 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, or below, it freezes. And what does the second unit do? Um, afraid not. In fact, part 2 heats the ice up until it melts and becomes liquid water. And now, guess what? What does the third unit, the electric hot... Perfect! When you heat water up to 100 degrees Celsius, which is 212 degrees Fahrenheit, or above, it boils and becomes steam. This change is called evaporation. Now, my favourite unit. The fourth unit is a very cold sheet of metal. What does it do? Yes, it's a rainmaker. As the steam hits a cold surface, it condenses and turns into drops of water, which roll down the metal sheet into the funnel and then into a new bowl, ready to start again. Are you ready for a tricky one? What happens to the water in its entire journey around my machine? Bravissimo! I see you're as clever as my invention. The water freezes and turns into ice, which melts and turns back into water, which boils and turns into steam, which condenses and turns back into water again. Let's see how your page is shaping up. 4 stars! Well, this is impressive. OK, Fleabag, old rat, why don't you change your recipe? Ceramics, conductor, brittle, rubber, Wood. There now. When the rat's away, the wise will play. Shall we? In this electricity experiment, we use a small, safe battery. But remember, electricity can be very dangerous. Don't experiment with large batteries and never play with the electricity that comes from outlets in the wall. Find out which materials will stick to the magnet and which ones can be made into magnets. Gold bar. Iron bar. Copper bar. Aluminum. Steel. Nickel bar. Steel. Nickel bar. Iron bar. Copper bar. Gold bar. Nickel bar. Copper bar. Aluminum bar. Gold bar. Iron. Gold bar. Which metals are attracted to the magnet on the left? Oh, capital! Would a metal coin be attracted to a magnet? That's right. A coin will only be attracted to a magnet if it is made of a magnetic metal, such as iron. What happens to steel when you rub it with a magnet? That's right. So now you know how to make magnets. What happens when you place an iron bar inside a coil of wire through which electricity is flowing? Not quite right, I'm afraid. The iron acts like a magnet only when electricity is flowing through the coil. Together, the coil and iron are called an electromagnet. What happens when you place a steel bar inside a coil of wire through which electricity is flowing? I'm afraid that was a little off. Actually, when electricity flows through the coil, the steel bar becomes magnetic. But unlike iron, the steel bar remains magnetic after electricity stops flowing in the coil. Here's your page. My stars! Or should I say, your stars? My, look at the time. Right, let's look at your star collection. 1, 2, 3, go! What a fascinating... When you want to get things... Select your 3 activities and then press play. Why don't you look at this while I warm up the main course? There are lots of wonderful experiments you can do in a kitchen. Presenting my new range of kitchen equipment. I think I may have used the wrong material for some things, though. Can you help me sort these things into ones that will work and ones that won't? Oh, Fleabag, I am deeply disappointed in you. I shall have to dock your cheese ration, of course. Very well. I shall clear this all up. A plastic saucepan, a paper strainer, a gold menu, a concrete chef's hat, a wooden knife, a plastic foam chopping board, a paper oven shelf, a fabric freezer bag, a metal strainer, a metal knife, a wooden chopping board, a fabric chef's hat, a plastic freezer bag. It's question time. First one, why does no one wear a concrete chef's hat? Uh, I'm afraid that's not quite the case. You see, concrete is very heavy, so a concrete chef's hat would be far too heavy to wear. Now, what's wrong with a paper oven shelf? Exquisite! Elegance itself. Then why wouldn't you buy a plastic saucepan? That's right, and the melted plastic might mix with your food as well. Yuck! If you had two menus exactly the same size, one made of gold and one made of paper, which would weigh more? Magnificent! A gold object weighs more than a paper object of the same size, and a gold menu would be very, very expensive as well. And finally, what would happen if you cut food with a wooden knife and a plastic foam chopping board? I think the recipe went slightly wrong there. In fact, the wooden knife wouldn't be sharp enough to cut well, but the plastic foam chopping board would be so soft that it would still get damaged. Hello? What's this? Do you mean to say you've got 3 stars already? I must... You read the recipe while I assemble the ingredients. In this electricity experiment, these objects are all made of different materials. See if they will carry an electric current. What happens when you put copper wire into the circuit? Exactly. Copper is a conductor of electricity, which means that electricity can flow through it, so the bulb lights up. Why are electrical cables covered in plastic? Oh, bad luck! In fact, the plastic coating is there to protect you. If you touched bare wires, you would become part of a circuit, and you could get an electric shock. Electricians often work with dangerous electricity. Which pair of gloves do you think an electrician would wear, and why? I'm afraid not. In fact, an electrician would wear rubber gloves because rubber is a very good insulator, which means that it doesn't let electric current through. So how many of these things are insulators? Well, not quite. In fact, there are 5 insulators. The plastic wire cover, the string, the switch cover, the rubber glove, and the ceramic block. Now then, an electrical plug is made of plastic and metal. Why do you think that is? That's not quite it in reality. You see, the plastic parts of the plug stop you from getting electric shocks, while the metal parts carry the electric current. Brilliantissimo! A shimmering, glimmering little star. Positively stellar. Press play when you wish to... Whatever could this mean? As if I didn't know. Carbon fibre. Flame. Germ. Translucent. Melt. Well, I should think that's taught him. Now, back to the subject at hand. This one is about ice, water and steam. Remember, always be very careful near hot water. Boiling water can scald you, which is like being burned. Water can change into ice and into steam. But how? Choose from these words to describe how you can change water from one form to another. Oh, bother! I shall disencumber us forthwith. Observe. Heat it, cool it, heat it, cool it, melts, freezes, evaporates, condenses. And now a little questioning. What should you do to turn water into ice? A little off the mark there. In fact, you should cool water to turn it into ice. And water does what when it turns into steam? Oh, bad luck. Actually, water evaporates when it turns into steam. So, melting is the opposite of what? Well, not quite. In fact, it's the opposite of freezing. When ice melts, it turns into water. When water freezes, it turns back into ice. Now, how do you turn ice into steam? Perfectly done. That's right. If you keep heating ice, it melts first and then evaporates to form steam. And here's a real brain teaser. What happens when ice turns into steam and then back into ice again? That's right. Ice first melts into water. The water evaporates to form steam, steam condenses to form water again, and water freezes to make ice. Feast your eyes on this glorious sight. It's your page, a light with two twinkling stars. Anyone for us? Let's see what you've amassed in the way of stars. 1, 2, 3, go! Ah! When you want to get things going, select your 3 activities and then press play. I will endeavour to arrange things while you... Fleabag, you are a verminous pest and a slovenly dresser. Do let me assist you, old bean. There we are. A leather jacket, a ball of wool, a feather duster, a silk scarf, a plank of wood, a sheet of paper, cotton thread, a wicker basket, sticks of chalk, coal, a clay pot, a diamond. OK, down to the questions. First one, which materials do we get from rocks and soil? I'm afraid that's not quite it. In fact, we get chalk, coal, clay and diamonds from rocks and soil under the ground. From which things that we eat do we also get leather? That's right. Leather is the skin of these animals, treated with special chemicals to make it tough. My scarf is made from the finest silk. But where do we get silk? That's right. We get silk from fluffy cocoons spun by silkworms. Now, most of my other fine clothes are made from the very best wool or cotton. Where do wool and cotton come from? Exactly so. Most of these things have been made by people. What can you say about all of the things people make? Well, not quite. In fact, every single thing people use or make comes from the materials we find on our planet. Technically superb, artistically brilliant, and you've earned 3 stars as well. OK, the old flinging words in the dark routine, I see. Psst, just play along, humour him. Steel, Ice, plastic, metal, filter. Positively sterling rat management, old thing. Now, where were we? Oh, yes. Here's your chance to show what you know about wood, rubber, wool and glass. Decide where they come from and what they are used to make. Sweaters, trees, sheep, rubber trees, rubber trees, tires, sand, sweaters. There now, you mustn't mind Fleabag. He has deep-seated problems. Think no more of it. I shall fix it in a trice. Paper, a window pane, rubber trees, tires, sand. So now for the questions. Here's the hors d'oeuvre, or appetizer. How is wood made into paper? Actually, that's not quite right. In fact, wood is chopped up, mashed up with water, boiled, and then pressed into flat sheets and dried to make paper. Now, which of these things don't you need to make glass? That's right. Glass is made by heating special types of sand in a furnace until they melt. When the molten glass cools down, it becomes hard. Next one. How do you think we get rubber from rubber trees? I don't think so. In fact, if you cut the bark of a rubber tree, liquid rubber, which we call latex, drips out, and you can collect it in a bowl. So how can a sheep's hairs, which are short, be made into long lengths of wool? That's right. The individual hairs or fibres of the sheep's coat are spun together to make a long thread that you can knit or weave. So here's the last one. What can you say about all of these materials and objects? Magnificent! Almost all of the materials and objects we use first came from an animal, a plant, or from the ground. Technically superb, artistically brilliant, and you've earned 3 stars as well. You read the recipe. This experiment, what's the best material from which to make a frying pan? And what material should you use to hold the pan? You can find out here. Wooden pan. Concrete pan. Wooden pan. Oh dear. Glass pan. Delicious. Copper pan. Oh dear. And, and now let's cook up some questions. First one. What happens if you cook using a frying pan made of wood? It would appear that somebody has a case of the undecides. Do choose the most likely answer then, old thing. We want to keep this pacey, don't we? I understand your hesitation, but the thing is, a choice must be made sooner or later. Preferably sooner. If you can't decide, let your butler choose for you. Failing that, just choose the closest answer and view the outcome. Well, far be it from me to advise you to cheat. Oh, what the heck. Just pick the best answer and see where it leads to. No one's looking. That... So, why are most frying pans made of metal? That's not quite it. In fact, a metal pan lets heat get to the food very quickly to cook it. Heat passes so quickly through the metal pan here that the egg cooks in just a few minutes, and after 10 minutes, it's burned. Why is it not a good idea to hold a hot frying pan in your bare hands? Oh, careful. Actually, it's because heat passes from the pan to your hand, and that can really hurt. So, why do most frying pans have wooden or plastic handles? Absolutely. Heat travels much more slowly through wood or plastic than through metal. Here's a brain teaser. Some radiators you find in houses have hot water flowing through them. Why do you think radiators are made of metal? Perhaps that was a little overheated. Really, it's because metal radiators pass the heat from the hot water quickly to the air. Ah, such radiant splendour! You've earned a star. I do feel we should take this opportunity to disinfest ourselves of the dreaded fleabag. Let's see what you've amassed in the way of stars. Ready, steady, spaghetti! I mean, go! Now you get to pick out an experiment to do at home. What a fascinating... Press start a game when you pick 3 activities and then press play. It's that simple. Why don't you look at this while I... Materials, such as iron, steel and copper, are metals. Help me to sort these materials into ones that are made from a metal and ones that aren't. Be off with you, Fleabag, before I find my recipe for rat stew. Don't think I won't do it. Now then, I shall rectify this immediately. A copper pipe, a steel knife, an iron nail, a brass porthole, a gold ingot, a silver trophy, an aluminum can, a tin cup, a plastic duck, a wooden ball, a glass bowl, a carbon fibre fishing rod, a wool sweater. And now it's time to test your porridge. I mean, test your knowledge. Here's the first question. In what way is a tin cup better than a pottery cup? Oh, that's not quite it. In fact, tin cups are useful because they don't break if you drop them. So, why is a plastic duck better than one made of iron? Um, I'm afraid not. In fact, like all iron things, an iron duck would get rusty if it became wet. Now, why are the best knives made of metal? That's not quite it. In fact, it's because metal knives are sharper and stronger than knives made of plastic or other materials. Why are things made of gold valuable? Quite so. So, what can we say about metals? Precisely. Et voilà! There is a certain je ne sais quoi about your page. What is it? Oh, those 2 brilliant stars. Magnifique! Okay. Pitch blackness, flying words. It could only be the attack of the mischievous rat. Transparent. Fabric. Freezing. Evaporation. Solution. There now. When the rat's away, the wise will play. Shall we? Here are lots of containers. Some of them are rigid. That means they're stiff. Others are flexible. That means they're bendy. Some can also hold water, and some others can't. Can you help me to sort them out? bother. I shall disencumber us forthwith. Observe. A glass bowl, a glass bottle, a tin cup, a copper pan, a metal strainer, a wicker basket, a cardboard box, a balloon, a plastic freezer bag, rubber gloves, a rubber boot, an envelope, a rucksack. Aha! The questions. Here's the first. Which of these containers are both rigid and can hold water? Good show. Now why can't a steel strainer hold water? That's right. A steel bowl would hold water, but the holes in a strainer let it run through. Okay, so does something have to be rigid to hold water? That's right. Plastic bags, for example, hold water, but they aren't rigid. Which of these things needs to be made of a material that is both flexible and waterproof? Well, not really. In fact, a deep-sea diving suit needs to be waterproof to keep cold seawater out and flexible so that a diver can swim. So, what type of material should you use to make the covering on an umbrella? That's right. If a material can hold water, it will be waterproof. An umbrella needs to be both waterproof and flexible so that you can fold it. Page, if you please. Thank you. 4 stars! Why, this is positively scintillating. Press play when you wish to begin, but first examine this. Decide whether each of these substances is a solid, a liquid, or a gas. Fleabag, you really do try one's patience. There. A trifling inconvenience, but I shall whip it all back into shape. Air in a balloon. Steam. A clear sky. Water. Syrup. Raindrops. Steel spoon. Plastic duck. Salt. What type of material is a metal spoon? I'm afraid your answer was a little, underdone. In fact, a metal spoon is solid. You can tell something is solid if it has a fixed size and shape. What type of material is the air? Oh, bad luck! In fact, the air is a mixture of invisible gases. Gases flow around and spread out in all directions. What type of material is water? Superb! You can tell water is a liquid because you can pour it and it changes shape, but it always takes up the same amount of space. What type of materials flow? That's right. The only way to make a solid flow is to grind it into a powder. You can pour a powder, but you're really just dropping thousands of tiny solid grains. Now, I'm always spilling things, and I've noticed that water spreads out more quickly than honey. Can you tell me why? That's right. Although all liquids can flow, some flow much more easily than others. Here's your page. My stars! Or should I say, your stars? 3 of them, to be precise. Do you suppose, Fleabag? And now let us examine your stars. Go! Ah, now we shall reap the bountiful fruits of our labours. How very delightful. Pick a peachy experiment to do at home. Salutations! As soon as you're ready, select your 3 activities and then press play. As soon as you're ready, press start a game.
That you out there, Sugar Pie? Just knock on the door when you want to come on in. Hi, reckon I ought to introduce myself. I'm Momentum, and this here's my workshop. Don't want to brag, but there ain't nothing I don't know about forces and energy. All kinds of energy. Motion, electricity, light, heat, and sound. It's real interesting, if I do say so myself. Yep. Oh, and I made you this book, too. Look-a-here, Possum Pie. You get to pick a face for your book. Just press start a game when you want to get things a-rolling. This here's a deluxe workshop, so you get to pick out whichever one of these you like, Sugar Dumpling. If you point to 'em, you can find out more about 'em. Okay, so you pick 3, and all you do after that is press play. If you want me to pick 'em out for you, click here. And if you'd rather explore the book, choose one of the chapters here. Guess that's it. Oh, and if you want more information, press this here help button, okay? Take a look at this here page, Sweet Pea. There could be some useful information in here that could help you answer some questions. And while you're a-reading that, I'll get us all set up. Just press play when you're ready. Remember, electricity can be very dangerous. It can give you powerful shocks and could even kill you. The experiments in the workshop are safe because we use small, safe batteries. Never experiment with large batteries and never play with electricity that comes from outlets in the wall. You see the battery, bulb, and wire? Try connecting them in the gaps between the ends of the 2 wires. Well, here she is, your first ever experiment. Just click around till you see how it all works. If you need a clue, press the hint button. Want to look at the book? Then just click on it. We don't stand on formality around here. Then, when you finish trying things out, just press OK. Got all that, Sporto? Now, what happens when you connect the bulb on its own? That's right, Sparky. When you connect the bulb to the wires, what else should you connect to make the bulb light up? Correct. The battery provides power for the bulb to light, and it completes the circuit. Now here's something. I've noticed that when you connect the bulb and the short wire, the bulb doesn't light up. Why do you suppose that might be? No, in fact you need a battery to make the electricity flow through the light bulb. If you connect the battery and the bulb to the circuit, you'll see that the bulb lights up. What do you suppose would happen if you took one of the long wires out of the circuit? That's right. You need a complete loop of wires and parts, which is called a circuit, to make electricity flow. Now, when you connect the battery and the wire, electricity flows, making the battery and the wire warm. Why do you suppose electricity flows? That's right, Sporto. Electricity can flow around a complete circuit, whether there's a bulb in it or not. But if you just connect a battery and wires, you get a short circuit. Too much electricity flows through it, and the battery runs down very quickly. Well, ain't you a live wire? Look at that page. It's just lit up with stars. You just take a little old look at this while I set things up. This one's about pushes and pulls. Decide in which direction you need to push or pull to perform these tasks. Ready for some fly by the seat of your pants kind of action? I bet you are. Okay, soon as you see the parts come past, grab 'em and put 'em in the right place on the picture. But if I was you, I reckon I'd keep a hurry on things. I know a mangy old tomcat that likes to stir things up. Cat's a head case, ain't he? Here you go, sugar. A pull upward, a push downward, a pull upward, a push to the right, a push downward, a pull upward, a push upward, a pull to the right. Here's your first question. There are two ways to move the car forward. What are they? No, you need either a push or a pull to the right to move the car forward. How could you move the car backward? No, you need to push or pull to the left to move the car backward. Now, pushes and pulls are called forces. What kind of force do you need to open the box? Correct. You need to pull the lid upward, which is an upward force. When you hit a nail with a hammer, you apply a downward force. How do you take the nail out again? Yep. An upward force is the opposite of a downward force. So, all of the pushes and pulls you see here are forces. What do all these forces do? Well, not quite right. In fact, forces can do all those things, but all of the forces here are making things move. Well, looky here at your page. 2 stars, and you can get some more next time, too. You just take her easy and read this while I get us set up. Hey, what's going on here? The lights has gone out. I bet it's old Sourpuss. He's got a real strange sense of humor. If I know him, and I guess I do, he's gonna be chucking words at you. Don't let him throw you, though. Just grab the words that match the definition you see. You show him who's boss round here. Vibration. Sound. Short circuit. Battery. Magnet. Oh boy, guess we know who's boss around here, don't we? Here are some musical instruments. Decide how you would play each instrument and then put it in the right place. A trumpet, a cello, a harp, a drum, a triangle, cymbal, a guitar, a gong, a recorder. Just plain electrifying. You are one switched-on little unit. Did you know that instruments that you hit are called percussion instruments? Which of these are percussion instruments? That's right, Sporto. What happens to a cymbal when you hit it? That's right. When you hit a cymbal, it vibrates, which means it moves back and forth very quickly, and that's how it makes sound. The same thing happens when you hit a gong, a triangle, or a drum. Which of these instruments do you think have strings? Jumpin' jalopy! What happens to a guitar string when you pluck it? Correct. When you pluck a string, it vibrates, and that's how it makes sound. The same happens when you pluck a cello or a harp. Instruments you play by blowing are called wind instruments. Which of these ones here are wind instruments? You bet. And guess what? When you blow into a trumpet or a recorder, the air you blow in vibrates inside the instrument, and that's what makes the sound. Holy hubcaps! 5 stars! Well, that's just plain stupefying. I know a certain ornery tomcat that wants to play catch me if you can. I'm thinking maybe we should take a little look at all your stars. Ready, set, go! Hey, looky there. You can pick out an experiment to do at home. Hey, good looking, what you got cooking? If you want to get started, there's only one thing to do, and that's press start again. Just pick your 3 favo rights and we'll get started, okay? Here you go, sugar. Take a look at this while I set up the first experiment. This is a good one. See if you can pick these things up with the magnets. Ready for your first question? Here it is. Which objects do the magnets pull toward them? Hey, pretty good. Which 2 things are made of metal but are not pulled by the magnets? No, the aluminum can and the copper pipe are both made of metal, but the magnets don't pick 'em up. So what types of things do the magnets attract? That's correct. Magnets will attract anything that's made of iron or steel. How come only the large magnet picks up the heavy steel toaster? Afraid not. The larger magnet can pick up the heavy toaster because it's stronger than the small magnet. How could you make the copper pipe stick to a magnet? Can't decide? I'm like that myself sometimes. You could just pick the best one. Stuck for an answer? Well, don't get your overalls in a twist. Just pick the best one. You bet. The magnet will pick up the iron bar and take the copper with it. Well, there's your page with your stars. That's right, folks. Count 'em. 1, 2, 3. Hang on while I get things set up. You can remember, electricity can be very dangerous. It can give you powerful shocks and could even kill you. Lights out. Now it's either sourpuss or else I forgot to pay the electric bill again. Heat. Circuit. Repulsion. Force. Well, I don't guess sourpuss will forget that in a big hurry. Now where were we, Sugar Pie? Remember, electricity can be very dangerous. It can give you powerful shocks and could even kill you. The experiments in the work. Here are pictures of 6 ways to connect a light bulb and a battery using wire. An unlit bulb. An unlit bulb. A lit bulb. A lit bulb. An unlit bulb. An unlit bulb. An unlit bulb. That's pretty good, champ. Only 2 of the bulbs light up. Which ones are they? Well, in fact, 1 and 5 light up because there's a complete loop that passes through the battery and through the bulb. Why do you suppose bulb 2 doesn't light up? Actually, the bulb doesn't light up because there's only 1 wire joining the bulb to the battery. You need 2 wires to make a complete loop or circuit. Okay, in picture 3, the bulb doesn't light up. How do you think you can fix it so the bulb lights up? You're right. To make the bulb light up, electricity must flow from one end of the battery through the bulb to the other end of the battery. In pictures 1 and 5, the battery is not connected in the same way, and yet they both light up the bulb. How can this be? No, you see, if it's only a bulb you're connecting, it doesn't matter which way around you put the battery. In picture 6, 1 wire connects each end of the battery to the bulb, but the bulb doesn't light up. Why not? In fact, electricity won't flow through the bulb because both of the wires connect to the same side of the bulb. What we have here is a short circuit. The electricity is going through the battery and the wires, but not through the bulb. Holy hubcaps, a star is born. Guess I mean both you and the page. And next time, you can get some more. You just take her easy and read this while I get us set up. Some things give off their own light while others don't. Decide whether each of these objects makes its own light and put it in the right place. The moon, a television, a mirror, a flashlight, a book, the sun, a candle, an eye, an eye, an eye. Got 'em all right. Well, la-dee-da. Ain't you the cat's meow now? A light source is something that makes its own light. Which of these objects are light sources? Yes, sirree, Bob. So which of the light sources uses a small flame to make light? You're right. Now, which of the light sources use electricity to produce light, do you suppose? No, it's the flashlight and the television that use electricity to produce light. How do you suppose you actually see a candle flame? Actually, you can see a candle flame only if the light it makes goes into your eyes. That's why things go awful dark when you shut your eyes. Now, a book doesn't make light, so how can you read a book? You betcha. It's kind of amazing when you think everything you can see is either making light or has light bouncing off it. There's your page. My stars. Or should I say your stars? 3 of 'em. That's mighty good. I know a certain ornery tomcat that wants to play catch me if you can. Okay, Doodlebug, let's let all your stars shine. On your marks, get set, go! Hi! Hey, where you been, sweet potato pie? If you want to get started, there's only one. Okay, sweet pea, pick 3 activities and let's go! Here's what the first experiment's all about. I'll just be getting it all together while you give it the... Are you ready for some listening practice? Listen carefully to these sounds and decide if each one is loud or quiet. And if it's high or low or just plain in between. Sorry about that, Sunshine. Mangy old cat. Watch this. Which low sound is louder than the one the bottle makes? No, that old car horn makes a louder noise than the bottle. Do tuning forks produce loud, medium, or quiet sounds? Perfect, Possum Pie. Did you know that the pitch of a sound means how high or low it is? What would a high-pitched voice sound like? Well, no. High-pitched means it's kind of squeaky like this. So which loud sound here is the highest pitched? That's right, Sporto. As you fill up a bottle with water, what happens to the sound it makes? No, the fuller with water that a bottle is, the higher the pitch of the sound it makes. Here's your page with 2 stars. Ain't you proud? You just take her easy and... Lights out. Now it's either sourpuss or else I forgot to pay the electric bill again. Pitch. Light source. Attraction. Oh boy, guess we know who's boss around here, don't we? This one is about how hot things are. This is a thermometer, and it measures the temperature, how hot things are. Try it out. The surface of the sun. Hoo-wee! That was so hot that the thermometer turned to vapor in an instant. Here's a new one. The North Pole. My, oh my, that was so cold the thermometer cracked. Here's a replacement. A cup of coffee. Boiling water. Ice. My workshop. The number. Yep, and that's about the temperature of most rooms. At about what temperature is the ice? That's right. Water always freezes, becomes solid ice, at around 0 degrees Celsius. At what temperature does water boil? That's right. Water always boils, becomes steam, at around 100 degrees Celsius. Which is the hottest, ice, a cup of coffee, or boiling water? Correct. What would happen to a thermometer like this if you tried to measure the temperature at the surface of the sun? That ain't quite right, Sweet Pea. In fact, the sun is so hot that the thermometer would instantly explode and become a cloud of gas. And so would you. Yep, here's your page. Heaven, help us? How'd you get 4 stars so quick? Here you go. This activity is about things that make heat, but remember, heat can be dangerous. Never play with stoves, matches, or fire, and always be careful near hot water. Some things make their own heat and some things don't. Decide which of these things is which. The sun, a wood fire, a hot bath, a hot water bottle, a light bulb, a scarf, a gas burner, a gas burner, a toaster, a toaster, a cup of coffee, a match, a match. Sulfur and spark plugs? 100% right. This must be your specialty. Which of the items make heat? Well, not quite, Sugar Pie. The lit match, the fire, the light bulb, the gas burner, the toaster, and the sun all generate heat. Which of these things use the energy of electricity to make heat? Nope, it's the toaster and the light bulb that make heat from electricity. They both get hot when you turn them on. How do the fire, the match, and the gas burner produce heat? Yup, the fire and the match burn wood, and the gas burner burns gas. Which produces the most heat, the sun, the gas burner, or the lit match? No, the sun produces the most heat. It's so hot we can feel its heat millions of miles away here on Earth. If the cup of coffee doesn't make its own heat, why is it hot? Hoo-wee! We got us an expert here. Voila! Here's your page all gussied up with 2 stars. And don't forget, there's even more to be had. Well, I reckon it's time to play Collar the Cat. Let's get your stars all lined up here and see what we got. 3, 2, 1, go! Well, ain't this... Don't forget to press start. Okay, Sweet Pea, pick 3 activities and let's go! You just get comfy. Look here at these 2 magnets. They're marked N and S, which stand for North Pole and South Pole. Try moving the magnet on the right near to or far away from the other one, and try flipping the magnets too. What happens when you put magnet 2 at position 1 and the 2 south poles are facing each other? That's right, and that's called repulsion. The magnets repel each other, which means they push apart. What happens when you put magnet 2 at position 1 and the 2 north poles are facing each other? No, the magnets push apart. This is repulsion again. What happens when you put magnet 2 at position 1 with one south pole facing the other's north pole? That's right, and that pulling together is called attraction. If you put 2 opposite poles together, they attract each other, and that's why people say opposites attract. Why does nothing happen when you put the magnet on the right at positions 4 or 5? You betcha! The pulling force a magnet has is strongest near the magnet and is much weaker farther away. When the magnets are sticking together, how can you make them fly apart? Yep. Let's have a look at your page. 4 sparklers. I am impressed. Here's the next page. Just press play to start. Remember, here you go, Sweet Pea. Take a look at these 4 circuits and find out what happens when you press the switches. Why does the bulb light up when you close switch 1? No, in fact, when you close the switch, you make a complete circuit. The bulb will only light up if it's in a complete circuit. If you close switch 2 but not switch 3, why do you suppose the bulb doesn't light up? No, in fact, the bulb won't light up because switch 3 is still open. The open switch means that the circuit isn't complete. Now, why do you suppose the motor stops soon after you turn switch 5 on? No, in fact, closing the switch turns the motor on, which makes the hand turn. The moving hand turns the switch off and stops the motor. Have you noticed that when you press switch 4, that there buzzer only works for a short time? Why do you suppose that is? Hey, pretty good. Each of these switches can control a circuit. How do you suppose a switch can stop and start the electricity flowing? That's right. When every switch in a circuit is closed, the circuit is complete. Electricity will only flow around a complete circuit. Voila! Here's your page all gussied up with 2 stars. And don't forget, there's even more to be had. You just take a little... Yeah, here we go again. Lights out, what's going on? Bet it's that cat. I reckon you know the rest. Transparent. Thermometer. Pole. Bulb. Switch. Ho! What do you think of them apples, Sourpuss? Okay, let's get back to the action. Light passes through some things, but not through others. You can explore this by turning these lights on. Here's your first question, Sweet Pea. Which of these things does light go through? Correct. When you turn the lights on, the patch of light at the bottom shows you that light is getting through. Why does the wrench make a shadow? No, in fact, the wrench makes a shadow because the light can't get through it. So why do you suppose the shadow is the same shape as the wrench? No, in fact, light travels in straight lines, which makes the edges of the shadow the same shape as the edges of the wrench. If you put a piece of wood in front of your face, why can't you see through it? No, in fact, it's because light can't get through the wood and into your eyes. Anything that light can't get through is called opaque. When you shine light through the glass and tracing paper, what's the difference between the 2 patches of light at the bottom? That's right. The glass is completely clear, or transparent, which means that the light goes straight through it, but the tracing paper lets less light through and makes it blurry. Well, looky here, it's your page. 2 stars, and you can get some more next time, too. You know what I think? I think it's time to teach that cuckoo kitty a lesson. Okay, Doodlebug, let's let all your stars shine. 3, 2, 1, go! Hi! Whenever you're... Just pick your 3 favo rights and we'll get started, okay? Now, I'll set up this first experiment. And all you have to do is just rest your eyeballs on this, okay? In this experiment, we look at the shadows made by the sun. Remember, the sun is so bright that it can damage your eyes. Never look directly at the sun, and never point a telescope or binoculars at the sun. When sunlight strikes this stick, it makes a shadow. See what happens to the shadow as you move time forward and make the sun move across the sky. When does the sun rise? Well, I guess the sun rises all morning, but sunrise means the time when it first appears in the sky, and here, that's 6 o'clock in the morning. At what time is the sun highest in the sky? Shazam! When do you think the shadow of the stick is at its longest? Yep, the stick's shadow is longest when the sun is lowest in the sky, at sunrise and sunset. So why do you think the shape and position of the shadow change during the day? Nope, actually it's the movement of the sun in the sky that makes the stick's shadow change. Ready for a tough one? Why does the sun seem to move across the sky? Well, actually it's because the Earth is spinning round itself. Now at the same time, the Earth is going slowly around the sun, but it's the spinning of the Earth that makes the sun look like it's moving across the sky. If you spin around, you'll see that everything else looks like it's going around you. Here's your page with 2 stars. Ain't you proud? Here's the next page. Guess what? Sound doesn't just travel through the air. See what happens to the sound of this alarm clock when you put it in different locations. A metal trash can. A fish tank. Outer space. A glass bottle. Cotton. Air. Why does the alarm sound different in the glass jar than it does outside the jar? No, in fact the sound is quieter because the glass walls stop most of the sound escaping from the jar. Where does the alarm sound loudest? Hoo-wee! We got us an expert here. Now why do you think the alarm sounds quieter in the cotton than in the open air? You bet, Sparky. Why is it that you can still hear the alarm when the clock is underwater in the fish tank? Bet sweet patootie, cutie. Now where would you put the clock if you didn't want to hear its alarm? Actually, in outer space there's no sound at all, so that would be the best place. Well, there's your page. 3 stars. I declare. You just take a little old look at this while I set... Oh my, lights out? Whatever could this mean? Reflection. The sun. Opaque. Light. Oh, matches are very dangerous. You should never play with them or any other type of fire. Burns can be very painful and very bad burns can kill you. This shows a temperature line ranging from very cold to very, very hot. See if you can figure out how hot or cold these things are. Cold water. Scat, you! Party poopin' pussycat. Okay, here's how it goes. The North Pole, an ice cube, your body, a hot bath, a cup of coffee, boiling water, a wood fire, a blowtorch flame, the center of the sun, cold water. Here's your first question. At what temperature is the human body? That ain't quite right, Chicky Bub. In fact, the temperature of the human body is about 37 degrees Celsius. So which of these sentences is true? Not quite. Your body is hotter than cold water and colder than a hot bath. Which items would feel cold to your hand? That's right. The North Pole, the ice cube, and the cold water all have lower temperatures than the hand, so they feel cold to the touch. What would happen if you put ice in a cup of coffee? You betcha. The coffee would warm up the ice so that it melted, and the ice would cool down the coffee. Why are boiling water and fire dangerous to you? Hold on there a second. In fact, it's because they're much hotter than you are and can burn or scald you badly. That's why you should never play with fire and never go near very hot water. Here's your page with 2 stars. Ain't you proud? Time to play a little cat and mouse if you get my meaning. I'm thinking maybe we should take a little look at all your stars. On your marks, get set, go! Holy hubcaps! Looks like you hit the jackpot, sugar. Now you can pick out an experiment to do at home. Ain't it fun? How do, how do? Things is all of a doodah around here. We been just a-waiting for you. Whenever you're good and ready, you just press start again. Just pick 3 activities and we'll fire this baby up. Okay, here's the plan. I'll set up the first experiment, and meanwhile, you can take a look at this. Remember, electricity can be very dangerous. Each of these batteries is powerful enough to light a single bulb. See what happens when you connect batteries to the top of the circuit and bulbs to the bottom. Try all the different combinations you can make. Hello? You'll see that if you connect just bulbs and no batteries, the bulbs don't light up. Why do you think that is? That's right. Batteries supply the electricity that flows through the bulbs, making them light up. Now what happens if you just put one battery into the circuit with two bulbs? No, one battery will make the two bulbs glow. The bulbs have to share the battery's electricity so they don't shine very brightly. Now, can you tell me how many batteries you should connect across the two bulbs to make them glow as brightly as possible? No, you see, the more batteries you put into the circuit, the brighter the bulbs will glow. 3 is the right answer. Say you've connected two bulbs across two batteries. How can you make the bulbs glow less brightly? You bet, Sparky. Why do you suppose the bulbs are brighter when they're powered by two batteries than when they're powered by one? That's right. Putting more batteries in the circuit makes the flow of electricity in the circuit greater. There's your page. My stars. Or should I say your stars? 3 of them. That's mighty good. You just take a little old look at this while I set things up. Just press play to start. Take a look at these mirrors and colored blocks. Try turning the mirror in the middle and watch what happens to the beam of light. Now which position should you turn the mirror to make the light beam hit a red block? That's right, Sparky. How does the light reach the green block when the mirror is at position 4? Yep. What happens to the light beam when the mirror is at position 1? Correct. What happens when the beam of light hits the red block? That's right. If you shine white light at something that's red, red light bounces off it. And the light that bounces off green things is green well, you get the picture. What kind of light bounces off the black block? That's right. Black things look black because no light bounces off them. 5 stars! Holy hot rod! You do take the cake, Possum Pie. You just take a little old look at this while I set things up. Yeah, here we go again. Lights out, what's going on? Bet it's that cat. I reckon you know the rest. Sound waves. The moon. What have you got to say for yourself, sourpuss? I reckon you won't be slinging words quite so much after that, will ya? Okay, now where were we? The display on this microphone shows how loud the sounds it picks up are. Move the microphone to different positions and see what happens when you honk the horns. In which of the four positions do you think the sound of the top horn is loudest? Well, actually, if you put the microphone in position 1, the display shows 5 red bars, so the sound is loudest there. Take another look. Now, in which of these 3 positions is the sound of the top horn quietest? Yep, the further you are from the horn, the quieter it sounds. If you put the microphone at position 4 and honk the bottom horn, why doesn't the microphone pick up any sound? That's right, the sound can't go through the wall, it just bounces straight back. How does the sound from the middle horn reach the microphone when it's at position 4? Hey, pretty good. Now, when you honk one of the horns, blue lines come out of it. What do you think the blue lines show? Well, nope. You see, this here's a model, and in this model, the blue lines show you how the sound moves. In reality, sound is invisible, and you can't see it. Well, there's your page. 3 stars. I declare. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Psst. Now's your chance to get back at old you-know-who. Well, it looks like it's time to bring out all the stars. Ready, set, go. Holy hubcaps! Looks like you hit the jackpot, sugar. Now you can pick out an experiment to do at home. Ain't it fun? How do? Things is all of a doodah around here. We been just a-waiting for you. Don't forget to press start a game when you wanna, start a game. Just pick your 3 favo rights and we'll get started, okay? Okay, Daisy Chain, take a look at this little old thing while I... This is a safe experiment. Looky here. You got 8 objects made of all sorts of different materials. Find out what happens when you use each object to complete the circuit. Now what happens when you put the plastic spoon in the circuit? That's right, nothing happens. That's because electricity doesn't flow through plastic. Hey, that's where my old workshop key went. What happens when you place it in the circuit? That's right, iron is a conductor, something that electric currents can flow through. The current makes the bulb light up. What has to happen if the bulb is going to light up? Shazam! Have you noticed that the copper pipe, the steel spoon, and the tin can all complete the circuit? What else do you think they have in common? That's right. Metal objects are all good conductors of electricity. That short piece of pencil makes the bulb glow more dimly than the steel spoon. Why do you suppose that is? That's right. The small current through the pencil lead makes the bulb only glow dimly. 5 stars! Shazam! You're one of the elite now. Here's the next page. Oh my, lights out? Whatever could this mean? Insulator. Primary color. Conductor. Wire. Transparent. Oh boy, guess we know who's boss around here, don't we? These 3 lights make red, green, and blue light. Find out what other colors you can make by turning the lights on and off in different combinations. If you turn the red and green lights on at full power, what is the color of the area where they overlap? Well, surprising as it may seem, you actually get yellow light. Take another look. Magenta is a pinkish color made by mixing two of the lights at full power. Which two? Hoo-wee! We got us an expert here. What color light do you get if you turn the red light on and the other two off? Bet sweet patootie cutie. If full power red and green lights make yellow light, what combination of lights makes orange light? Yep, that's right. Orange appears where full power red light and half power green light mix. When all three beams are on full power, what color do you see when they all overlap? Ain't that something? White light is actually a mixture of different colored lights. I don't know about you, Sweet Pea, but I think that's just amazing. Look, here you go, honey bun. It's springtime. Find out the weight of each item using this spring-loaded weighing machine. The numbers on the scale show the weight. You gone awful quiet there. Reckon you're the strong silent type. Now, the units on the scale are called newtons. How many newtons does the 100-gram mass weigh? Well, no. If you put the 100-gram mass on the scale, the spring stretches until the pointer is at 1, so it weighs 1 newton. And which two things each weigh 2 newtons? That's right, Sporto. And what does the orange weigh? Nope. When you put the orange on the scale, the pointer stops halfway between 2 newtons and 3 newtons, so the orange weighs 2.5 newtons. So how much would the 300-gram mass and the 100-gram mass weigh together? My, you are a clever thing. The 300-gram mass weighs 3 newtons, and the 100-gram mass weighs 1 newton, so together they would weigh 4 newtons. Are you ready for a tough one? When you put the orange on the scale, it pulls the rope down, and that stretches the spring. But why does the orange pull down on the rope? Well, you're a genius. The force of gravity pulls everything down toward the earth. And do you know who discovered gravity? A man called Isaac Newton. Well, there's your page with your stars. That's right, folks. Count 'em. 1, 2, 3. I know a certain ornery tomcat that wants to play catch me if you can. Let's get your stars all lined up here and see what we got. On your marks, get set, go! Check out all them goodies. You see all them there printouts? You just take your pick of the litter. Well, howdy. How are you anyway? Whenever you're good and ready, you just press start again. Okay, Sweet Pea, pick 3 activities and let's go. I'm gonna set up the first experiment, and you can take a sneak preview. This one's a balancing act. Put the different masses onto these beam balances and watch what happens. Which mass balances with the apple? You bet, Sporto. The apple weighs the same as the 200-gram mass. When you put the 300-gram mass on the beam with the apple, why doesn't the beam balance? Yep, you need 2 things that weigh the same to get the beam to balance. Which object does balance with the 300-gram mass? That's right. The can weighs 300 grams. Well, we really should say its mass is 300 grams. Now, if 2 of these things balance each other perfectly, what can you say about them? Correct. They weigh the same, so they must have the same mass. What can you say about the mass of the onion? That's right. The onion weighs more than the 200-gram mass, but less than the 300-gram mass. Let's take a gander at your page. Sweet chariot! 5 stars is pretty good. Here you go, Possum Pie. You just eyeball this while I'll set up the next one. This is a safe experiment, but remember, electricity can be very dangerous. Never experiment with large... Lights out. Now it's either sourpuss or else I forgot to pay the electric bill again. Pole. Insulator. Electric current. Magnet. Repulsion. What have you got to say for yourself, sourpuss? I reckon you won't be slinging words quite so much after that, will ya? Okay, now where were we? This is a safe experiment, but remember, electricity can be very... Lots of electrical devices are operated by a special kind of switch called a sensor. Here are 3 kinds of sensors for you to work with. See if you can turn on the alarms. Here's your first question. How do you make the red alarm go off? Yep, when the sensor switch detects a loud sound, it completes the circuit and the alarm goes off. Different sensors detect different things. What does the middle sensor detect? Hoo-wee, we got us an expert here. Okay, when you press something, you put pressure on it. Which of these sensors detects pressure, do you think? That's right. The foot presses down, which puts pressure on the sensor. Now, the sensor on the left detects sound, but the foot and the flashlight both make sounds, and the alarm doesn't go off. Why do you suppose that is? No, in fact it must be because the sensor detects only very loud sounds, like a horn going off right next to it. Now, which of these circuits would work well turning on a light every morning after sunrise? That's right. The sensor in the middle detects light. When sunlight hits it, it will close the circuit and make the bulb light up. Yep, here's your page. Heaven, help us? How'd you get 4 stars so quick? You just take her easy and read this while I get us set up. Press. Now, here's a couple of old violins that I rigged up. You can pluck the string on each violin. See what happens to the sound if you slide the finger along the string on violin 1 or add weights to violin 2. Here's your first question. Look closely. What do you see when you pluck the strings on these violins? That's right. When you pluck a violin string, the string moves back and forth, or vibrates, and that's what makes the sound. How does the sound of violin 1 change when you slide the hand to the left? Nope, that ain't quite right. Actually, the note gets lower. Why don't you try it again? And what does sliding the hand to the left do to the string on violin 1? No, when you slide the hand to the left, you make the part of the string that vibrates longer. How does the sound of violin 2 change when you put a weight on the end of its string? Nope, in fact, the note gets higher. What do you think adding more weight does to the string of violin 2? No, the extra weights make the string of violin 2 tighter. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. That looks mighty pretty on your page. You can even get some more next time. Time to play a little cat and mouse if you get my meaning. Let's see how many stars you got there, sugar. Ready, set, go. Watch where you're clicking, Pumpkin Pie. Remember, only click on Sourpuss if he's got a question for you. Well, ain't this nice? You and me in the shop makes three. We're mighty glad to see you again. If you want to get started, there's only one thing to do, and that's press start again. Just pick your 3 favo rights and we'll get started, okay? You just get comfy and take a look at this while I set up the first experiment. Are you ready for some space travel? Choose the Earth, the Moon, the planet Jupiter, or outer space, and then release the 2 balls. Watch carefully how the balls move. The planet Jupiter. Outer space. Outer space. Whoops. Looks like that ball's never gonna come back. Here's another one. Whoops. Looks like that ball's never gonna come back. Here's another one. The moon. The moon. The moon. The moon. The moon. The earth. On Earth, on the moon, or on Jupiter, which way does ball 1 move when you release it? That's right. The force of gravity pulls it downward towards the planet or moon. What happens to ball 2 on Earth, on the moon, and on Jupiter after the spring sends it flying upward? Yep, it's that old force of gravity again. In outer space, which way does ball 1 move when you release it? Yep, that's right. In outer space, far from all the stars, planets, and moons, there's hardly any gravity, so the ball just doesn't move. What happens to ball 2 in outer space after the spring sends it flying upward? That's right. There's almost no gravity in outer space, so ball 2 doesn't slow down and fall. It just continues moving in a straight line. Now, where of all these places is the force of gravity strongest? No, in fact, Jupiter pulls the balls downward harder than on the Earth or the Moon, which shows that gravity must be strongest there. Let's have a look at your page. 4 sparklers. I am impressed.